Well, we just saw, in fact, moments ago, Hillary Clinton in the red state of Nebraska. So as the general election gets underway, the electoral map obviously becomes the focus. Donald Trump, he was in the important swing state of Ohio earlier today where he's running neck and neck with his Democratic rival. In about an hour from now, he'll be in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. It's another key state that he must win in November. I want to bring in my panel now, Jessica Tarloff, Jillian Melcher, and Kendall Coffee. Okay, so Hillary, by the way, so the audience understands, the reason she was campaigning in Nebraska, and Warren Buffett tried to explain it, it's the only place where one district, has its own little, they have a different sort of electoral system, and it could be a statement among other things. So how do you see this whole thing shaking out now? You know, we're past the conventions, Jillian, and some of these numbers are coming in. For the most part, we could call most of these states a toss-up. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think what's so interesting, you have states like Ohio, Pennsylvania, Florida, that, you know, Barack Obama won them decisively in the past two presidential elections. But you see Trump winning over blue-collar union voters. I mean, talking to blue-collar union men in Pennsylvania, hearing them say that they're going to turn out from him, I think that might be where the battle's really fought. Right. You were at the convention in Philadelphia, and you met a lot of these guys. They told you straight on, they don't care what their bosses tell them, they're going to vote for Donald Trump. Yeah, that's right. And they were actually a little bit afraid their bosses might find out about it. But there's a real divide between union leadership and the blue-collar voter. I think they think that he's going to create the jobs and bring them back. And in states like Ohio and Pennsylvania, where there's been real pain, and you've got Hillary Clinton making comments about coal, I can see why it's in play. Yeah, Kendall, I mean, you know, how do you see this shaking out? Because it's going to boil down to a handful of states. There's absolutely no doubt about it. And we've seen Hillary struggling, to Jillian's point, with some key constituents there. Well, we were razor thin in Florida last time. You remember, it took a couple of days before they could call Florida in 2012, and that was a landslide compared to 2000. So I think Florida's going to be a huge state. And one of the things, as obvious as it sounds, is getting the ground game, getting the money to mobilize Florida. Right now, you can easily expect that the Clinton machinery is going to be remarkable and strong and in place. But does Trump have the fundraising ability and the machinery to compete with that in Florida? Donald Trump saying he raised almost $36 million last month, 517 donors, $69 per person. That $69 number stood out to me because, because it represents that sort of same grassroots enthusiasm you saw for Bernie Sanders. But a lot higher. I mean, Bernie was at $27. Well, but the numbers come down, though. I noticed since Donald Trump has begun really going after money, it's come down. It was like $200, $100, $69, and the amount of people going up. I think the point I'm making, though, to Kendall's point, is all the political experts tell me if it comes to the machinery and ground game, Hillary Clinton has the advantage. But that didn't work for Donald Trump's rivals in the primaries. No, absolutely not. And I think, you know, all Democrats now have stopped underestimating Donald Trump. No matter what goes on, he still kind of seems to be a little Teflon there. I do think at a certain point, once we really get into the general election and after Labor Day, I mean, those polls are really where things start to matter. And then we'll see the impact of the spending. And, you know, can he raise, I think it's great that he has all of these grassroots donations, but can he raise $1 billion? If we look at the wall, again, he's saying he doesn't have to raise $1 billion. Well, he's not going to spend it himself. The controversy of the debates. Will the debates make or break this campaign, you think, Jillian? I don't. I think it's polarized enough right now that people have chosen sides. I think there's a very small margin of voters that's persuadable. But I think the most interesting thing that I heard last week was that people who hate Hillary Clinton have hated her for 25 years. People that have hated Trump have hated him for a year. I hadn't thought about that. I'm definitely a Trump hater. But I think that's an interesting dynamic. Well, here's the thing. A poll just out moments ago, right before we went on there, from CNN ORC, saying that only 16% say that, in other words, everyone knows who they're going to vote for. They're steadfast. 16% up for grabs. You used the term razor thin earlier. I mean, that is really, really dicey. Yeah, and I think I think the debates are going to be very important. I think, as we've seen from the polling and the negatives, people have concerns about both candidates, but they're fascinated by both candidates. I think there's going to be a lot of interest, and I think the debates could be game changers. This is an election of a lifetime. Thank you all very much. Coming up.